Are you ready to level up? This is the brand new Canon EOS R6 III, 32.5 megapixel, 40 frames per second, and 7.5 stops of IBIS.
And if you're a hybrid shooter, the R6 III offers a lot of the same video features that Canon just introduced in the C50. Things like 7K open gate recording, internal RAW recording, and 120 frames per second, 4K uncropped.
And now if you didn't know, the R6 II is the #1 selling full-frame mirrorless camera. So we're gonna see if this is gonna knock it off its podium. We got a packed video here. I'm gonna shoot photos. Nick is gonna shoot video. We've got a wedding, we got wildlife, we got landscapes. So you ready?
Let's go.
All right.
1, 2, 3, team.
Now, while the R6 II was a fully capable camera for a photo and video team to shoot a wedding, but now with the updates on both photo and video, this is a powerhouse at a bit of a budget level to have a full-scale wedding photo and video team. And what I kind of love on hybrid cameras is that right now Nick is up close and center and I'm right here, and maybe my lens isn't gonna reach, and I can kind of tell him, switch to photo, get that shot. And same where there's a situation I might see and I can get the video specs that my videographer has.
All right, what I'll have you do is take one or two baby steps backwards. I'm gonna try to get like a profile shot of you. Just gently tousling the hair.
So I'm more of a team on liking to have the photographer and videographer where it makes sense to have the same capabilities for those moments that as a photographer I might miss, and as a videographer, he's right there, he can switch it to photo and get the images and not miss a moment. You asked for more and Canon gave you more. You wanted more megapixels, Canon gave you 32.5 megapixels with the R6 III versus the 24 megapixels on the R6 II. This also keeps the files more manageable, and it's an in-between range before getting to that 45 megapixel that the R5 II offers. And a huge improvement for me personally is the new dual slot, one being a CF Express Type B and the other is an SD. I like to shoot on CF Express cards because of the read speeds. There's no buffering when you're shooting at a high frame rate. And for those who are not ready to upgrade to the CF Express card because they have way too many SD cards laying around, you still have the SD slot. Would it be a wedding shoot without the videographer getting in the way?
I'm a little stinker. So I've been shooting a little bit of video on the R6 III, mostly just our little faux sort of elopement shoot. And I will say Canon is probably going to advertise this as a photography first camera, and while I wouldn't disagree with that, the video specs you're getting in this thing rival and essentially match a lot of Canon's dedicated cinema cameras as well. And first and foremost, this is currently the second camera that Canon has released that's capable of recording 7K open gate video. Now, we spoke a lot about these advantages in our C50 video, but broadly speaking, you're just able to capture much more vertical resolution. And this is great for things obviously like social media, where you can shoot once and capture your vertical and horizontal. But especially in a situation like this, if you are shooting a wedding or any situation where you have one chance to get the shot, just having a broader canvas means that you have the ability to reframe your 16:9 video in post as well. It just gives you a bigger canvas to capture very essential one chance only takes, like a first kiss.
And continuing on a photo and video team, it's really helpful not only for them to be on the same system, but on the same exact camera. An upgrade on the R6 III that the R6 II did not have is the person registration. With a wedding, you can register the couple, and during your bridal party photos and videos, your camera is gonna know who is the star of the show. Same with the reception. They're gonna be weaving in and out during dancing, during saying hi to grandma and the aunts and uncles. So you really wanna register your couple, and that's a huge help, especially during fast-paced weddings. I'm personally team, it's the glass, not the camera. Right now I'm shooting with the 85, the new 85 VCM, and these results are incredible. I'm right behind some leaves. I'm getting a little bit of that in the foreground, really blurry. And yes, this isn't the R5, it's not 45 megapixels, but when you pair your camera with the right glass, you're not gonna miss some of those things that the very expensive camera has. It's really about your composition, how you're planning your shot, and the glass. So I'm shooting with the 45mm right now, the brand new STM 1.2. Now listen, this is the lens you're just gonna want in your bag. Right now I'm taking a couple portraits, but with a wider scope. I went from the 50 to the 45 just now, and it's getting more of a background that I would have gotten with a 50, and it is so sharp. 1.2, it's incredible. Now you see the slightest edging where it's getting a little out of focus, but honestly, it's kind of giving the vibe I would prefer anyway. This is beautiful. Like the fall colors are just so beautiful. So right now I'm getting some establishing shots of the location where we're shooting the portraits and the actual wedding. This is the type of lens that you're often going to use on those types of shots, really wide out, beautiful, to get the full surrounding, but still at the 1.2, you're going to get these really sharp images. This is the perfect lens you're going to give that second shooter who is maybe shooting those establishing shots while you're busy getting the up-close portraits with your higher-end glass. It's so cute. And now I might look a little crazy using a 100 to 500 for shooting portraits. Like I mentioned, I still consider a wedding a wildlife sporting event. I love to shoot with Supertelephotos for portraits because I do think it offers a very different look, a more wow factor, especially with that separation when you're shooting at 500. And when you're shooting environmental portraits, it doesn't mean it always has to be super wide. Test out those different lenses in all the different scenarios to see what types of shots you get. So I just took a quick little 4K 120 vertical video. And while this is a photography first camera, Nick is going to convince you otherwise in this video. But as photographers, we need to constantly be challenging ourselves in our skills. We may have mastered photography, but now it's time to put it into video and test our skills and practice with some of the settings that we have in here that maybe you've never tried before.
So like Maria said, my goal here is to convince you that this can be a video first camera as well, because while Canon is almost definitely going to market this as a photography first camera, it really crams in actually a lot of Canon's more professional Cineline video features into this camera body. Have RAW available, various flavors of 10-bit and 8-bit, but let's go to RAW actually. Go to RAW, let's see now, I have a maximum frame rate of 60 actually in RAW, which is actually really good. And then on top of that, you're also getting C-Log 3 and C-Log 2. You're getting Canon RAW Lite internal as well, which means you could, if you wanted to, use this as like a B or C camera in Canon's professional cine lineup. And the fact you can do that in a mirrorless camera body like this is really cool. You can also do 4K 120 fully uncropped, which is great. Now for this wedding elopement shoot we did, there really wasn't much reason to shoot super slow motion like 120 frames per second, but for things like wildlife, this is actually very helpful. And in fact, that's the next thing we're gonna do with this camera. We're gonna put it through its paces, getting some photos and videos to try to capture some wildlife.
So we just finished with our couple and that was so much fun. But before we head over to our next section, I just want to quickly go over some of the new things that the R6 Mark II didn't offer that the R6 Mark III does. And first being smooth skin effect. And second, flash sync speed, previously 1/250 and now 1/320. And lastly, my personal favorite of this entire update is your phone can now automatically connect to your camera at 5 gigahertz. And for those who don't know what that means that you're getting reduced drop-offs when you're trying to connect your phone to your camera, which is so important when you're photographing a proposal or a wedding, and that couple needs those photos ASAP. And maybe even if they don't need those photos, but you're gonna want that couple to have those images and post those images first before they're posting their phone photos. And sometimes you're in the middle of sending images, 20, 30 images over to your phone, and then it drops in the middle of it. That is so detrimental. So this update is going to change your life on that. So now we moved locations and onto a new subject. And that's the type of shooter that's going to have the R6 III. We might be shooting portraits in the afternoon, but in the morning we were shooting some birds for sunrise as we maybe waited for that couple to arrive to location. So I switched my camera from human detect to animal detect, something that's new to the R6 III. And I also enabled pre-capture, something brought over from the R1. And now you can dial your pre-capture to 1 frame all the way up to 20 frames as a half press before you press the button to capture that animal, maybe in flight, as I'm waiting for this heron to take flight. As I mentioned before, I love that Canon is bringing features from their beginner cameras like smooth skin effect onto their high-end cameras, because if it exists, why not have that tool in your hand? But also they're incorporating those features like from the R1 down to this camera. So the Canon R6 III really is the best of all worlds, from beginner to advanced features. So it's perfect for that advanced amateur person, but also on that advanced amateur budget level. So we moved locations, we're kind of tracking this heron, trying to find the right composition in the right light. I also switched lenses. I'm now using the 100 to 500 for 2 reasons. One, this really feels like the right lens for this type of camera and the type of user that would be buying an R6 III. And also this lens has IS. So combined with the lens and the camera, now we have 8.5 stops of stabilization, which is great for handheld shooting. This lens is pretty lightweight, so being here at 500, getting the heron is almost impossible using a really heavy lens without putting it on a monopod or a tripod. And yes, this lens at 500 is 7.1, but right now we're in very, very bright conditions, so the 7.1 is kind of perfect, and the separation is still very beautiful. In the beginning of the video, I wondered, will this camera knock the R6 II off its #1 selling podium? And for me, it's really mostly about autofocus and how the camera can lock onto the subjects. And I'm trying to capture even the tiniest birds and birds in flight. And I'm so impressed by this camera on how it's just locking on the subject, and now being able to also detect animals is now an immediate step up from the R6 II. So I think we're getting closer to knocking the R6 II off the podium.
So Maria's been grabbing all of that wildlife photography. I've been doing wildlife videography, and I'm so annoyed because right when we got here to our point in Central Park, this majestic heron flew across the lake, and Maria got her camera out first and got the shot. I'm sure you've already seen those photos already, but I did not get it, and that heron has been over there for like 3 hours not moving, which is very boring for video. That all being said, shooting video on this has been great because you get so many useful features on this that make getting unpredictable subjects like birds and squirrels much easier to capture. So right off the bat, the fact you can do 4K at 120 frames per second uncropped, that's almost exclusively what I've been shooting this wildlife at, is great because I come from a narrative filmmaking background, and whenever people complain about like a crop factor in slow-mo, I'm always like, oh, just recompose your image. But I gotta say, when you're in a situation like this where you gotta get the shot, having that extra uncropped canvas to work with is really, really helpful. What's also very helpful is I've been shooting on a variety of zoom lenses. Right now I got the 100 to 300, but earlier I was on the 100 to 500. And when you are all the way at those peak focal lengths, image can get very shaky. So having 7.5 stops of in-body image stabilization, which goes up to 8.5 stops when combined with a lens that has stabilization, you can get very stable shots even at these extreme focal lengths. It actually saved me getting a few shots of there's some ducks fighting, some squirrels. It's been a lot of drama in here actually, but we've been able to get a lot of that coverage. And lastly, the subject detection modes, or I almost want to say lack thereof, because Canon gives you plenty of subject detection modes, but what is so nice is previously on certain camera models, you would sometimes have to say, put it into like bird subject detection or cat or dog. With this one, there's just animal. And Canon says it's intelligent enough to just know what to focus on. And in our experience, that has been true. You put it in animal detection. I've been switching from squirrels to birds to herons that don't move. And it's been able to pick up on all of them pretty consistently, very, very reliably. So if you're in a controlled shooting situation where you might want to be taking advantage of, let's say, the internal raw recording, you can do that. But what's also nice is even in an unpredictable environment where you're kind of running and gunning, the stabilization, the super slow frame rates that you can shoot at, and even things like the dual card recording slot, the fact that you get a CF Express B and an SD card means that you can choose if you want to be recording proxies to one and raw footage to the other, if you just want to be doing dual recording, or if you want to be doing relay recording. You get all those options in there as well. And the subject detection modes, once again, you can essentially put it in person, animal, eye detect, and it is very snappy, very responsive. The autofocus performance, it does not have the digic accelerator that the Canon's flagship R1 and R5 Mark II have, which means that those are technically the best of the best autofocus you can get in a camera body. But outside of that, this is the best autofocus you can get in a Canon camera. And it's been very, very reliable in our experience so far.
So the sun is starting to shine a little too bright. I think the birds are ready for their mid-morning nap. And that means let's move on to some landscapes. It's almost November. We're in Central Park. The leaves are changing. So I want to get some iconic Central Park landscapes. Let's go over. Bow Ridge in Central Park and peak fall foliage. How could we not come here to test out the brand new R6 Mark III? In theme, as we've been talking about throughout this video, is something I've been loving is Canon bringing their existing features from their high-end cameras and their beginner cameras onto this brand new body. Something I've been testing with landscapes is their HDR moving subject. Now this is taking 3 images and creating already a final image in body. Without having to bring those 3 images into post-production, you have a ready-to-go high dynamic range image. But you still get to keep those 3 raw photos if you want to fine tune that in post. And we can't forget to talk about the obvious, Canon colors. I'm taking these photos, not even in HDR, and I can't believe how saturated and how beautiful they already are in camera. So when I take this home and put them into post, I can't even imagine what I'm gonna be able to work with. And of course, the 32.5 megapixel upgrade from the R6 Mark II to the R6 Mark III. This is giving us more options in post to crop in and also to blow up our beautiful landscape photos to put on our galleries, to put on our walls at home, while still having a manageable working file. So we've learned so much about this camera in all the different scenarios, and it begs for the question, who is this camera for? It's really for everybody, but it's for those maybe DSLR shooters who are looking to finally make that change to mirrorless. You have your Canon 60 Mark II shooters. This is the perfect camera for you to make that jump. And it's for the person who's maybe not ready to make the jump to the R5 Mark II, although this does have 10 more frames per second. And it's also for that hybrid shooter who is photo first and needs higher megapixels, but also needs high-end video specs. It's all right in here. So speaking of video, I think I just saw Nick talking to himself, going like this, vlogging. Let's go catch up with him.
So if you're looking to shoot video on the R6 Mark III, but you're the sort of content creator whose eyes glaze over when you hear things like internal RAW or C-Log 2/3, then you'll be very happy to hear that Canon very generously brings over a lot of the more content creator features from cameras like the PowerShot V1 or the R50V. So you're getting things like Subject Detect IS, which is a very helpful feature. If you're vlogging, let's say, or you're hand-holding, running and gunning, it's an image stabilization / autofocus feature where it will keep you as the subject centered in the frame. So even if your hand is moving a little bit, it keeps you nice and centered. Really handy feature. But another really handy thing for those of you who don't want to color grade your footage, if you just kind of want to get something looking cool and stylistic right out of camera, Canon offers a lot of color filters for their video. And they give you, I don't know, like 6 or 8 different ones, but none of them matter really except for one, and that is, look, it's called Tasty Cool. And when you see a color filter called Tasty Cool, you kind of have to pick it. It's really outside of my hands. So I've been shooting some footage in this Tasty Cool profile. You do once again get other ones. If you really, really don't like that one, I will still allow Tasty Warm, which is another one that they have right next to it. But whichever one you pick, they're just, once again, a cool way to get a nice stylistic look to your video right out of camera. But you also get other content creator features like skin smoothing, So if you have any blemishes or anything, it's a quick way to just make your footage, once again, out of camera, just look really nice without having to fiddle in post. And quality of life wise, it's just a very usable camera. Just like a lot of other Canon's cameras, you get the tilting, flipping, very angled screen. And so far in our shoot today, the battery life on the R6 Mark III has been great. It takes the exact same battery that all of Canon's other flagship cameras do, including the recently released Canon C50 actually. And we were very impressed during our hands-on time with that, how that camera and that battery handled really intense video codecs and frame rates and raw recording options. And actually, speaking of the C50, that's actually probably a good point of comparison to make between the R6 III and the C50, because if you just look at the spec sheet, there's actually a lot of crossover. Interestingly enough, Canon did not handicap this camera in any way when it comes to its video specs. You're getting the 7K open gate recording that you could get on the C50. You are getting the internal RAW recording that you could get, once again, open gate up to 30 frames per second, 4K uncropped at 120 frames per second. The biggest limitations really between the C50 and this guy, if you are a dedicated video shooter, mostly comes in terms of the fact that the C50 has a fan built into it and this does not. So if you're shooting in the open gate formats, the RAW formats, the really high frame rate ones, you will eventually get a cutoff in your record time just because of overheating, but you can actually record pretty comfortably unlimited in a lot of other codecs as well. So if you're doing, 4K, 24 frames per second, you're golden. It's really only if you're pushing this camera with those more intensive codecs that you have to worry about that. But I gotta say, other than that, this is an incredibly capable video camera. And what I really like about what Canon did with this is it scales accordingly. If you are just kind of a content creator and you don't want to get super lost in the sauce, they give you a lot of beginner-friendly options. But the fact that you can go up to recording log formats if you want to take a baby step into color grading if you haven't done that before, and then the fact you can do raw internal recording. Yes, you're limited in terms of how long these takes can be, but you could still absolutely integrate this into a more professional workflow with Canon's Cine line. And the fact you're getting all of that kind of just makes this like the default camera. The R6 II was the best-selling camera, full-frame camera of 2024, and the R6 Mark III is really just like, if you need a camera that can kind of do it all, that does not have any clear weak spots, it's an incredibly flexible camera, as Maria has shown with all the photo specs, and even on the video side, it's absolutely capable.
All right, Nick, we talked a lot, we shot a lot. What was your peak and pit?
Oh, we truly did laugh, we cried, we made memories. My peak is definitely the peak foliage that we had to shoot. The fact we were in Central Park with fun new cameras and able to test them out in Central Park for our day job is a lot of fun.
What about the pit?
The pit is very obviously that stupid heron that you got majestic photos of that I tried to, I was in 4K 120, I'm trying to show the video features and this heron is not moving, did not move for 4 hours. Does he have a job? I'm still very upset about it, but it was overall a very fun day.
Well, my peak was capturing the heron in flight.
It was. You got the beautiful photo at the one time it moved. You got those photos.
Exactly. But my pit is now we have to return the cameras.
We do. Very sad.
So we want to know, are you going to be shooting with the brand new EOS R6 Mark III? Let us know in the comments. I'm Maria.
And I'm Nick with B&H. Stay creative.
Introducing the new Paybu credit card. You can save the tax or choose special financing for your purchases made on your Paybu credit card. It's easy. The new Paybu card, same funny name, your choice of exclusive benefits. Apply today.